What do you say? Because I'm going to say
Just
it right.
episode 30.
Episode 30, This Functional Family Podcast, the only take.
I usually say the first and only take.
It's heavy.
But that's
The
cool.
first and only take.
There we go.
Okay, I did it.
Smile in your face. Oh, you got a little hair on your shirt. Backstabbers, we are back. But not backstabbers.
They're not backstabbers. They're our family.
What I just said, we are back. And I left stabbers out. Because we are back. Episode Chef Curry.
30?
It's Spanish that you'll be exploring on this. Still wrong? Still wrong. Not how you say episode in Spanish. Much better.
30.
Not
Am I thinking of Starbucks? Because they have a Trenti. Or is that French?
There's a lot happening right now.
I always do a lot.
Episode
Dang.
Chef Curry.
Okay.
30.
Yeah, but
know the
we
vibes.
just did Aisha Curry can cook.
Today's episode.
Gonna cut me off.
Yeah. Today's episode is sponsored by Free the Souls Clothing. Check us out for Liberated Luxury. It's also sponsored by Animata. That's ANIMAYTA for all of your video needs. Also sponsored by Voice Visuals LLC for all of your video shooting.
Your V's are heavy.
Yeah, because they are victorious.
They are.
This here is the victory.
Nah, their faces right now
You know
are
what I'm
crazy.
Sponsored by some lens goats. You feel me? So y'all check them out. And yeah, happy to be with you again.
Oh,
for another
happy to be with you every
for
day of
another
my
pod
life, my love.
class. Teaching these suckers. You feel me? It's a pod
You
class.
be talking about how I be doing a lot, and I just my hair is crazy a little bit.
You should have checked that before you sat before the camera. Here we go. So let's get into it. What we scoffing about today?
Today we're scoffing about partners or parents.
Okay.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
You know.
I don't know.
They don't.
You made
you
this.
know I don't. All right. So the other day, I'm in the kitchen, right? And I'm cutting. Well, we had just gone to the supermarket.
Facts.
Got a bunch of fruit.
Fruits.
So I'm like asking Dashawn what he's going to eat for lunch. And he's like, I'm going to probably just eat some strawberries.
First of all, I don't like how you like shifted your tone. Like it's comical that I wanted strawberries for lunch.
It's not, but I'm still getting used to it.
Trying to play me, bro. I'm trying
So he's like, I'm going to probably just eat some strawberries. So we got like the
let
big...
a king live. You know what I'm saying?
We got the big container of fruit. So I'm like, all right, they were already washed off and stuff, but I hadn't like... What I like to do when we get strawberries is cut off the little... it's not really a stem. The little green bunch at the top, the leafy part.
Right.
I like to, slice it off, cut the strawberries in half, put it in a fresh like glass bowl container so that it's just easily accessible for whoever wants them. If you're making a smoothie, boom, boom, bam, just throw them in a blender. If the girls want to eat it, they don't have to worry about the leafy part. It's just convenient, right? For me, it's just like part of the strawberry experience. Mm-hmm. So they was like, I'm hungry right now. I'm like, let me just cut off the top part. So he's like, hey, you ain't got to do that. Like, my mother never did that. My grandmother never did that. Just bring me the strawberries. They already clean. So I'm like, why are you comparing me to your grandmother and your mother?
What does this have to do with your moms?
I didn't ask you how you like your strawberries. I'm just cutting off the leafy part.
I just thought you were being motherly. It was weird.
Yeah, but it was like, I wasn't trying to be motherly. I was just trying to do something that I thought was convenient for the household.
Right.
So we kind of laughed about it afterward. But it had us thinking how much how much we look for our parents and our partners, actively or subconsciously. Like, how much of our parents do we want or not want? our partners to like reflect.
Are you asking me?
I am. I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh,
so in essence, I mean, after that, debacle, do you think
It wasn't a debacle, bro.
it wasn't a debacle at all?
I just said I just wanted the strawberries as is.
You're like, I'm hungry right now.
I like to hold the leafy part. And
yeah.
Sometimes I
and
eat
what?
it.
What was that
I don't
sound
want to repeat it because your face made me feel like I said something wrong.
Sound nasty.
Okay. Yeah.
But do you think that we actively look for partners that are like our parents?
So I think in undergrad, my degree is in psychology. So we studied a lot of like Freudian things. And not obviously, but it is popular. It's a popular phenomena that Freud studied, a theory that he has developed, which is this sexual fantasy theory between children and their parents, and girls desire a man that looks like their father, or they sexually crave their father in this weird way, or subconsciously boys sexually crave their mothers and things like that.
Nah, Freud is wild.
And I don't agree. I don't agree with that. But here's what I will say. I do think that it is human nature in life to take the best things of our past and try to replicate or relive those things through the relationships that we find.
Okay.
And to take the worst things of our past and to do our best to not encounter that stuff again.
I can see that.
So I don't necessarily agree that girls are looking for a guy that's like their dad and that boys are looking for a girl that's like their mom.
Right.
What I do believe, though, is that we try to relive emotions that our parents made us feel. So if they raised us a certain way and fostered a certain environment, when we find partnerships, and it's not just in the erotica, like emotional relationships, I think it's also in like filios, like your brotherhood, you know what I mean? Your sisterhood. When we try to relive those like relationships, when we encounter those new relationships, we are naturally drawn to those that replicate the emotion or the atmosphere that our parents fostered that was good.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I don't think there's like this like sexual fantasy that I want a woman that looks like my mom, because you don't look anything like my mom.
At all.
I don't look anything like
At all.
your dad, right? But I do think our parents, they do things, you know what I mean? I think they create happy moments. They can create bad moments. It depends on their parenting style. And I think in our partners, we try to find that and better. You know what I mean? But I do.
That makes sense.
Yeah, does that make sense? So, for instance, like if your father made a lot of money, I'm not saying you can't ever end up with a guy that's not financially well off, but it's just really hard to like go backwards.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's really, really hard. It doesn't mean there aren't couples. Like, relationships are not monolithic. Everyone is not the same.
Right, exactly.
So we know that there's going to be differences and nuance there, but I think at a like a baseline level, it's hard to like marry a woman if your mother was like a great chef if your wife don't cook at all. Not that she's like the only one in the house that cooks, but it's just like when she cooks, you want it to be good.
At least
like,
be halfway
my mom's
decent.
right.
Yeah.
It has to be halfway decent if my mom's was like a great chef. So
Yeah.
it's just, and I don't mean to like box us into those stereotype roles. I just
Right.
think those are easily accessible examples.
Yeah.
But I think that's my theory. My theory is that we sort of chase the feeling and the environment that was peak. It was like a high.
It's home for us.
It's
and now
home.
as you're making
You
a
make you
new
feel
home, you kind of want to keep that
build
same.
off that.
Yeah.
Exactly. But that does bring a question to my mind that, I mean, we both can probably answer, but I want to ask you, like, do you think that people who have fractured relationships with their parents avoid partners like that? So in essence, they go the total opposite direction?
Yeah.
That would sort of dismantle the theory that I just raised, or what do you think?
So not looking for a partner like your parent, but looking for a partner who's totally unlike your parent.
Right. Like if your mom was alcoholic,
Yeah.
are you looking for someone that's like completely sober, never takes a drink ever? You know, if your dad was abusive or physically abusive, are you looking for someone that's really docile, never hostile in how they speak, never like boisterous because you don't want it to trigger any like feelings? Like, what do you think? Do you think people like go for the exact opposite when the relationship is a bad one? So I think the episode started sort of rooted in relationships that are assumed to be solid
healthy relationships.
Right, healthy parent to child relationships. But what do you think when the parenting relationship is fractured?
I think that unless the relationship that you had with your mom or dad or parent figure was totally bad, I think we still try to pull some kind of good out, because that's the example that we have. So if it's a good example, I'm going to look for those good qualities in my partner, maybe subconsciously or maybe actively. But even if I have a bad parent...
Ooh, excuse me.
God bless you.
Excuse me, everybody. Even listening and watching.
Even if I had a parent who I didn't necessarily have a healthy relationship with, I think that in the back of our minds, we try to find out, or we try to locate what was good about that parent that I can draw from. So, hey, dad might have been an alcoholic, but he took me to the park every Saturday. So, you know, I'm going to look for a partner who doesn't mind going for walks in the park with me, or, you know, doing some kind of like low-key recreational activity that can be a bonding experience for us. But there could also be a flip side to that, where we do seek those same unhealthy, toxic traits because it's kind of like a project to us. And because we want, you know, as a child to parent...
That's a bomb. Nah, say that.
I haven't done a bomb in a while.
Yo, say that again. We seek somebody that's like, if we have a fractured relationship with our parent.
You kind of seek out someone who is just like that bad parent.
Because what?
It's like a project for you, because you couldn't fix your dad.
Wildin'.
You couldn't fix the bad traits about your mom or dad. So I want an alcoholic boyfriend, or I want an abusive girlfriend, because it gives me a chance to kind of fix what I didn't get a chance to, what I had no control over as a child. Wow.
So you're subconsciously trying to reconcile a broken past.
Because as a child, very rarely do...
That's a lot. Yeah. Hold on. Like we helping people. This is a pod class. We helping people do sacred work right now. Hold on. We helping people do divine work right now. This is internal reconnection with your divine side. Hold up. That got to simmer.
Simmer.
When we have a fracture, that's blowing my mind.
Because I think that very rarely as
they become a project. I can't get over it. They become a project to us.
Yeah, very rarely does a child, not saying that it doesn't happen. Of course, children influence their parents all the time in different ways, but very rarely if a parent figure has some kind of toxic relationship with substance or whatever it is, very rarely does a child have enough influence to kind of pull that parent out of that dark space. So when they get older, they're like, Dag, I wish mom was better. I wish dad was better. I wish grandma, grandpa, or auntie or whoever was better. I couldn't control that as a 10-year-old, as a 12-year-old, as a 9-year-old. But now that I'm an adult, I have a little more power. So let me take you on and see, you know, how
and that's how we end up in like these like really toxic relationships,
where it might be hard for you to leave.
We think. Yes, I agree, but that's not even where I was going. Okay. I was thinking not just like the difficulty of trying to leave because you see it as a project, but I think subconsciously you don't know that you're doing that. Like, I don't think people are actively saying, I want to find someone with this same problem my dad or mom
like,
had.
Nobody is going out saying, I want an abusive alcoholic substance abuse, you know.
But when things come up or when things happen, you don't immediately run because you say, oh, this might be my opportunity to fix.
Let me help you.
And while you think you're fixing somebody, really under the surface, you're trying to fix something that went wrong with you.
Yeah, trying to...
Or something you were a victim of. Yeah. You know, and I think you'll bounce from relationship to relationship because you can't find that type of, outcome in the project that you're quote unquote working on. I'm using your language, the project, excuse me.
Yeah.
But I just think that that's really good. I think that's really good. But I'm gonna be honest. That's very, very, that's a toxic way to live your life. I think that there is a much healthier way to do that work, to do that work internally. I think there are ways to reconcile fractures of the past.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there are better ways to reconcile fractures of the past other than I think with a relationship, trying to make that a project becomes too risky to your own mental health.
Oh, yeah.
It becomes too risky to your own well-being and your own internal work of becoming your best self, fulfilling your potential in God and doing everything that you're called to do. You run the risk of not progressing in that internal self-work by trying to fix somebody else.
Because you don't know if you can. You're using all of this energy, time, and resource trying to relive something that may result in the same outcome. You just being heartbroken and emptied and just
because you'll constantly be giving and never ever being poured back into or replenished. I think some of the healthier ways to do that, especially if you know you've had a fractured relationship with your parent and you know it impacts your, you know what I mean? You're holding on to bitterness and you know what I mean? You're cold and your heart is callous and it doesn't have any entry points for nobody because of what you're holding on to from the past. I think that, some ways to do that work, obviously through mentorship, through therapy, through a lot of meditation and prayer, getting some time to yourself, getting some time in nature. You know what I mean? Laying on some sand in the beach, laying in your backyard, taking a walk in the morning, taking a jog in the morning, but just like clearing your head, centering yourself to become, you know what I mean?
Just more self-aware.
Yeah, so that you can be in tune with those feelings, because it's trying to find a parent to fix is a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And then I also think you can find jobs in the field if you had a fractured relationship with your parent and you feel like that's your calling, like, oh, I went through this because of this, and you've done some of that work to heal yourself and become better, and you actually want to heal that demographic. Let's say your parent's an addict or they weren't around or they got caught up in the justice system. There's ways to do that work. You can work in that field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That could be your why, your noble story could be because of what happened in your past. You can write a book about what you've dealt with. You know what I mean? But anything but get into a relationship to fix it.
Yeah.
Anything but that person has to do that work themselves. If they're broken and fractured, it's not your work to fix them. If someone is broken, if they're abusive, if they're toxic, you can offer a helping hand to pull them up. You can get them to the right resource, but it's not your work to fix them if they are your spouse or your partner.
Because often I think in those types of relationships also, like, you're too close to them to be able to fix it. Like, there has to be some kind of breathing room for the work to be done. If I live with you and we're married and we're together and you have you spiral one time, we live together, so it's going to be hard for me to do the work to help you, even if I'm skilled or capable to help you. If I live with you, I think it's hard to be with someone who's, I don't know.
I think in addition to that, you kind of let the person off the hook from doing the work.
That too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they're broken or if they're treating you abusively, there's a reason. There's some past story, so they have to dig deep within themselves. They have to seek the Almighty. They got to submit themselves to the plan and will of God to find out how they can heal from that, how they can forgive their past, how can they forgive themselves from some of the mistakes they made, whatever. Yeah. Maybe their parent was abusive to them and they're just repeating a cycle that they tried to avoid.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I think at the end of the day, that person has to do the work and they can't become your project. You know what I mean? And too many of us stay in relationships to try to help heal somebody versus allowing that person to do the work with God to heal themselves and then being their best self for you when it's time. I don't know if this is the direction we wanted to go as much as we went, but I feel like it needed to be said. But I think in terms of like just, going to get a partner that's like your parent, I think we do that in so many different areas. You know what I'm saying? That I can't say that it's just about relationships. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think we find job environments and atmospheres that remind us of good things that our parents gave us. Like if we if our parents were good at letting us know we were good at something, we find atmospheres, workspaces that remind us of that energy to help us reach that peak again. You know, we find relationships, friendships that help us reach that same peak again. You know what I mean? Or take it to the next level. I don't think it's just in the relationships we have with our partner, like the intimate ones. I think it's also about the, the other types of relationships too.
Yeah.
And other types of environments and atmospheres we put ourselves in. You feel me?
Yeah. And I guess just to reiterate, one of the most important things is to be like self-aware of what you dealt with in your past that that is either going to be healthy for you moving forward or that you need to totally stay clear of.
Yeah.
So like you said, just to reiterate, I think that's a really important point, to be self-aware.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, to close it out, here's what I would say. I don't think we have to, I think we can debunk the myth that all of the time that someone is looking for a similar trait, that it's a negative thing. I think it's because of Freudian psychology, it's been attached to this creepy sexual desire that we haven't explored some of the validity with the idea, like the direction that it's headed. And I think, to the point that I made earlier, I think sometimes we want, if our parents raise us in a healthy connection, we're trying to build off of that. That's what generations are about.
Yes.
That's what it's about. So it's like, if my parents were super successful business owners, I hope to learn the business and be with somebody that I can help produce.
Right. Like, why would I run away from that?
That type of success with, right? Yeah. Exactly. You know what I mean? And I think if we debunk this notion that it's all bad and that it's all like creepy. Yeah,
because it's not like, we've heard that a woman wants a man who looks just like her daddy or who reminds her of her dad, and you in no way, shape, or form do that. But there are traits from, like you said, there are traits from our parents who, if you know that it's healthy and you can apply it to your relationship, your marriage, your parenting styles,
so good.
Take it.
So good.
What can you learn from it? What can you build on it? What worked? What didn't work? You know what I mean? Or what kind of work that you like this piece of it, and I'm going to apply this and use it. So it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to all be bad, but it's okay to take good traits.
Right. And say, hey, my dad was like this. I want to find a man. Like my thing is this, like if your parents communicated healthily in front of you, why would you be like, oh, I don't want nobody communicating healthy.
Don't talk to me.
Like my dad, ooh, girl, let me find me somebody that's going to cuss me out. You hear me? I need somebody to cuss me out.
Like it is okay
if dad talk to mom healthily in front of you, it's like,
take it and run. Sis.
Look for a man that's gonna talk to you healthy. You know what I'm saying? So
hold on to the good. Hold on to the good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good place to stop. I hope that's helpful. It's our pod class. You feel me?
Pod class.
My father always taught me to thank God first thing in the morning, because last night could have been your last night. We don't know when our last breath will be. So if you love somebody, give them their flowers while they can smell them.
Never mind. I'll talk about this in private.
Okay, you go. You got the first question.
I'm asking you the first question? All right, ready for Tell Me More?
I need a drum pad.
I need you to stop, because mixing this audio afterwards is going to be really difficult with them lap drums going on. Crazy. All right, here we go. What do you think is more important aesthetically? Weight to men, as in like what they're looking for in a woman, or height to women?
What's more important?
Yeah.
Definitely height to women. I think that...
Really?
I'm 5 feet. Like, if there's no way if I wasn't with you, that I would be with somebody who was like my height.
Listen.
There's no way.
Hey, tell Nico that.
Who?
Kevin Hart's wife. I'm sure Kevin Hart looks 6'5" when you worth over $300 million.
It's just no way. Like I'm.
Nah, I feel you.
Unless like you're a tall woman, but even tall women who are like 5'11" prefer a man who's like 6'6", 6'7".
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So women always want a man who's taller, whereas men, men have body types that they like, but I think men care less about a woman being, toned
men are purrs. Is what
no, I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying.
I think there's a science to that.
saying.
No. All jokes aside, not even trying to be funny. I think there's a science to that. I think we know that hormonally, women fluctuate way more than men do.
That's true.
And I think we kind of like embrace love with that understanding, whether it's because you're having my children for me, whether it's because, you're taking birth control or something. Like there are a bazillion ways that women's weight fluctuates.
Yeah.
And it's not always just like, I'm letting myself go.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes you fall ill and I'm not saying everybody falls ill from time to time, but you get what I'm saying? Like she might have to stay in the bed, or hey, she got pregnant. Then we had another one the next year. You know what I mean? No recovery or snapback time.
Wow.
Like,
you coming for me? They're our kids.
But literally not at all. No. Look, what in the insecurity is going on?
Why you gotta be so insecure?
No.
When I did all I could, I gave all I could. But you be wanting more.
You did a little curl thing on the end of that note. You didn't have to do that. Just
more.
Nah.
More.
That's not what's happening. No, that's just not how the note goes.
I really be going crazy. All right. But yeah, I think we agree there.
Okay, cool. No, we don't agree. I don't agree.
You do? No?
I guess I do agree. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I do agree. So.
Would you be with a woman who was taller than you?
No.
But you would be with a woman who was fatter than you? Point proven. If you could write a letter to the childhood you.
Hold on. Let me imagine why. Now you got me exploring my
All right,
own.
you're 6 feet. Would you want a woman who was 6 feet? Or because here's the crazy thing is, we've had this conversation. There are women who are shorter than you, who are like tall women, like 5'11", 5'10".
Right.
Who are clearly shorter than you. But if y'all are not standing like next to each other,
they look like giants.
Look like they're taller than you.
And then I stand next to them, like, oh, wait.
You are shorter than me, but they look tall.
Yeah.
So would you want a woman who was 6 feet, or would you want a woman who was 200 pounds and shorter than that?
I don't think I would want a woman taller than me. I just can't figure out why. I think now you got me exploring like my own insecurity. Like, do I have a problem with like?
I don't think you do.
Smaller?
I just think that. I think it also goes into men wanting or being seen as the protector. And if you have a woman that's taller than you, whether she's weaker than you or not, you still want to.
She out here
like,
getting busy with it. I got you, baby. Boom. All right,
it don't matter.
It don't. But now, no, you made me stop. Like it's a like legitimate question. Like, oh shoot, I wouldn't want a woman taller than me.
But why?
Why is the answer like an immediate no? It was like no.
It is what it is.
That's crazy. But it's some men that like taller women,
and that's fine.
So.
There's some women that like the men short.
That's a fact. That's
love
a fact.
Who you love.
All right. You got a question for me? Let's do it. Tell me more.
If you could write a letter to the childhood you, what would you say?
How the heck you want me to answer that?
All right, just like bullet point your top three things. What kind or like what advice would you give the childhood you? Because I guess writing a letter might be kind of like
that's lengthy.
Yeah. Well, what
bullet point?
Like top 2 or 3 things you would.
I'd probably tell myself at a younger age how talented I am.
Yeah, I like that.
Because I think I realized it very, very late.
I don't think you realized it late. I think you didn't embrace. You embraced it late. I think you always knew.
Yeah, that's true.
You just didn't like
being younger. Like out of this, it's 6 of us. For those that don't know, I have 5 siblings. But my older sister, we're like closest in age. We're only a year apart. I mean, I've said that before. And she's like the best singer out of all of us. Like she sang, right? And I just think that always made me, now that I'm like thinking about it, I think that always made me think like, oh yeah, Tay's a singer. I'm just her background singer. And it was like, but you're actually a really talented person. Like I play instruments, you rap really well, you can sing a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, but I always just stuck to the church got me singing in the background, so I'm Tay's background singer. You know what I'm saying? And I never embraced it at a young age. So even throughout college, it was always recreational for me. High school was always recreational for me. Yeah. So I'll probably tell myself to embrace your gifts a lot younger.
Yeah.
Because you're really, really dope.
I like that. I think that one and done.
That's how you in the episode. Come on, you messing it up. Like you gotta let that thing simmer. Simmer. Me the keys to me, be my. Who am I?
The girls, them sugar. And how can I make love to a fella in a rush? Pass me the keys to me. Y'all go back and watch our cultural collision episode because now he's trying to be Jamaican. Oh, well, you are after you took the flag from me. What was that, episode 12?
I'm Jamaican now.